Once, in a distant land, there was a king who lived in a grand palace surrounded by a vast garden. Despite having numerous gardeners and fertile soil, the garden bore neither flowers nor fruit. Not even grass or shady trees grew there. The king was deeply troubled by this until an old wise man told him, "Your gardeners don't know what they're doing. After all, they are the sons of cobblers and carpenters. How would they know how to cultivate a garden?" "You are absolutely right," exclaimed the king. The old man went on, "You must find a gardener whose father and grandfather were also gardeners. Then your garden will flourish with grass, vibrant flowers, and sweet fruit." The king agreed and sent messengers throughout his kingdom, from towns to villages and hamlets, seeking a gardener with generations of experience. After 40 days, such a man was found. "Come with us and become the king's gardener," the messengers told him. The man hesitated, saying, "How can I go to the king? I'm just a poor man." "That doesn't matter," they replied. "We have new clothes for you and your family." "But I owe money to several people here," he added. "We'll settle your debts," they assured him. So the man was convinced and left with them, taking along his wife and son. The king, thrilled to have a true gardener, placed him in charge of the royal garden. The gardener easily transformed the barren grounds into a lush paradise, full of flowers and fruit, and within a year the once desolate park looked unrecognizable. The king generously rewarded him. Now this gardener had a son, an extremely handsome and charming young man. Every day he would bring the choicest fruits to the king and the most beautiful flowers to the princess. This princess was stunning and had just turned 16. The king, believing it was time for her to marry, said, "My dear daughter, you're of age now. I plan to marry you to the prime minister's son." "Father," she replied, "I will never marry the minister's son." "Why not?" the king asked. "Because I love the gardener's son," she confessed. On hearing this, the king was first furious, then sorrowful. He cried and sighed, declaring that the gardener's son was not a worthy match for his daughter. But the princess remained firm in her decision. The king then turned to his advisers. "Here's what you must do," they advised. "Send both suitors to a far-off land. Whichever one returns first shall marry the princess." The king agreed. The minister's son was given a fine horse and a pouch of gold coins, while the gardener's son received only a lame old horse and a bag of copper coins. Everyone believed he would never return. The day before the journey, the princess secretly met her beloved. "Be brave," she said, "and remember that I love you. Take this bag of jewels, use them wisely for my sake, and return soon to claim my hand." The next day, the two young men departed together. The minister's son galloped ahead and was soon out of sight behind the farthest hills. He traveled for days until he reached a fountain where an old woman in rags sat on a stone. "Good day, young traveler," she greeted him, but he ignored her. "Have pity," she begged. "I'm starving and haven't eaten in 3 days." "Leave me alone, old witch," he snapped. "I can't help you," and went on. That same evening, the gardener's son arrived on his limping horse. "Good day, young traveler," the woman called out. "Good day, kind woman," he replied. "Please, have mercy on me," she pleaded. "Take my purse," he said, handing it to her, "and ride with me. Your legs are probably too weak to walk." The old woman didn't hesitate and climbed on behind him. Together they reached the capital city of a mighty kingdom. The minister's son stayed in a luxurious inn, while the gardener's son and the old woman stayed at a beggar's lodge. The next day, loud noises filled the streets as heralds proclaimed, "The king is old and weak. A reward awaits anyone who can restore his youth and strength." The old woman turned to her young companion and said, "You can earn this reward. Leave the city through the south gate. There you'll find 3 dogs, one white, one black, and one red. Kill them, burn each separately, and collect their ashes in bags matching their colors. Then stand at the palace gate and declare that a great doctor from Janina in Albania has come to heal the king. The royal physicians will scoff, but persist. When you're finally admitted, request wood enough for 3 mules and a large cauldron. In private with the king, boil him until his flesh falls from his bones. Reassemble the bones and sprinkle the ashes from the 3 bags. He will rise, young again. For this demand only the bronze ring. It grants whatever you wish. Don't forget my instructions." Following her directions, the young man found the dogs, killed them, burned them, and gathered the ashes. At the palace, he declared, "A renowned healer from Janina in Albania has arrived." The royal doctors mocked him, but the king allowed him entry. Soon the cauldron was boiling. He placed the king inside. By noon, he had rearranged the bones and sprinkled the ashes. The king sprang back to life, young, strong, and amazed. "How can I thank you?" he cried. "Take half my treasure." "I want only your daughter's hand," said the gardener's son, "and the bronze ring." The king hesitated, valuing the ring, but finally agreed. The young man bid farewell to the old woman and summoned the ring. "Bronze ring, prepare me a magnificent ship of gold and silver with brocade sails and a noble crew, 12 fine men dressed as kings. Let the cargo be jewels, diamonds, rubies, emeralds." Instantly a splendid ship appeared. He boarded and continued his travels. Eventually, he reached a grand city and settled in a beautiful palace. Days later, he encountered the minister's son, now poor and working as a dust carrier. "What's your name and origin?" the gardener's son asked. "I'm the son of a great prime minister," the man replied bitterly. "Look how far I've fallen." "Even though I barely know you, I'll help. I'll send you home on one condition." "Anything," said the minister's son. "Follow me." They went to the palace. There the gardener's son gave a signal, and his servants stripped the visitor. "Heat this ring," he ordered, "and brand his back." Once done, he said, "Now I'll send you home." Using the bronze ring, he summoned a shabby, broken ship with ragged sails and crippled sailors, some missing limbs, some hunchbacked or blind. The minister's son was placed aboard and returned to his country. Despite his wretched state, the people welcomed him. "I am the first to return," he told the king. "Now give me the princess." Preparations for the wedding began, though the princess was heartbroken. At dawn, a marvelous ship appeared at the harbor, golden and glorious. The king, spotting it from his window, was astonished. "What is that ship with silver masts and brocade sails? And who are those princely young men? Isn't that St. Nicholas at the helm? Invite the captain immediately." Soon a dazzling young man entered the palace. "Welcome, noble guest," said the king. "Stay in my capital as long as you like." "Thank you, sire," said the captain. "Your daughter is about to marry?" "Yes," said the king. "Will you give her away?" "Gladly," said the captain. Soon the princess and her fiancé arrived. "What?" cried the captain. "You would marry this lovely princess to that man?" "But he's my minister's son," said the king. "That means nothing," said the captain. "He is one of my servants. I found him hauling trash in a distant town. I felt sorry and hired him." "Impossible," said the king. "Shall I prove it?" said the captain. "He returned on a wrecked ship I provided." "It's true," admitted the king. "It's a lie," shouted the minister's son. "I don't know this man." "Sire," said the captain, "have him stripped. If my ring's brand isn't on his back, I'm wrong." The king was about to order it when the minister's son confessed. "Now, sire," said the captain, "do you recognize me?" "I do," cried the princess. "You're the gardener's son whom I've always loved." "You shall be my son-in-law," the king declared. "The wedding preparations are already underway. You'll marry her today." And so the gardener's son wed the princess, and they lived in bliss for several months. The king was proud of his wise choice. But one day the young prince needed to travel and kissed his wife goodbye before leaving. Meanwhile, on the city's edge lived an old man skilled in dark magic. He discovered that the prince had married with the help of a bronze ring controlled by genies. "I must have that ring," he schemed. Catching bright red fish, he walked past the princess's window, shouting, "Who wants pretty red fish?" The princess sent a slave to ask the price. "A bronze ring," the old man said. "Where can I find one?" "Under the cushion in the princess's room." The slave reported this to her mistress, who said, "Give it to him." The ring had been left behind by mistake. The slave found it and gave it to the sorcerer, who vanished with it. Back home, the old man used the ring. "Bronze ring, obey me. Turn the golden ship black, make the crew hideous and crippled, let St. Nicholas leave the helm, and make the cargo black cats." Instantly, everything changed. Lost at sea, the prince realized the ring was gone, and probably his wife, too. What was the use of returning home? He sailed from island to island, growing poorer and living on roots. One day he landed on an island full of mice. His hungry cats went wild, hunting the mice. The Mouse Queen panicked. "These cats will eat us all. Send an embassy to the captain." The mice pleaded, "Leave our island or we'll be wiped out." "Gladly," he replied, "if you return my bronze ring stolen by a magician." Distressed, the queen called a council. Suddenly 3 mice arrived from afar, one blind, one lame, and one with cropped ears. "We know who has the ring," they cried. "A wicked old magician keeps it in his pocket by day and mouth by night." The mice sailed off to the sorcerer's home. At night, as he slept with the ring in his mouth, one mouse dipped her tail in oil and pepper and tickled his nose. He sneezed, and the ring flew out. The lame mouse snatched it, and they fled. The magician awoke in despair, but it was too late. The mice were already sailing home. They argued who deserved credit, and during the fight, the ring fell into the sea. Ashamed, they decided to die on a deserted island. But the blind mouse, wandering alone, found a dead fish, and inside it the bronze ring. Joyfully, they returned to Mouse Island just as the captain was about to release his cats. "Bronze ring," he commanded, "restore my ship." In a flash, everything returned to its glorious form. The captain sailed home, found the sorcerer asleep, and reunited with his princess. The old man was arrested, and the next day tied to a mule's tail. He was broken into as many pieces as there were nuts on the mule's back.